Okay, so let's take a look at a typical strength day that we might, or a strength component or strength session that we might see here at Behemoth. We're really not spending any more than like 20 minutes here on these sessions. So we want to make sure that we work as efficiently as possible to get to our working sets, right? When you see our working sets, it's usually somewhere between 2 to 4 working sets. It's not a ton of working sets, but we also have a prescribed rep scheme that we're going to go over here that we talk with our folks on, right? But today, our strength work would be 3 sets, back squats for 5 reps, and then dumbbell snatches for 3 to 5 reps per arm. Obviously, the main focal point of this would be our back squats. So we want to make sure that we have a plan on how to approach getting to our first working set of 5, right? Let's say that I want my first working set to be 315 pounds. Now, obviously, my training age is decently experienced. Starting out, you might not necessarily know where you want to end or where you want to finish, but that's just going to take more reps and more talking with coaches and really just more time under tension with the movement and understanding where you need to go. But let's say initially starting out, we'll use myself as an example. I want my first working set to be at 315 pounds, right? Well, I need to work back from that. So if you guys can see down here, right, my final single, or let's start with just what our warm-up rep scheme looks like, right? We've got our first set of 5, we've got a second set of 4, we've got a third set of 3, a fourth set of 2, a fifth set of 1. So we see a warm-up rep scheme of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's just 15 total warm-up reps. What that's going to allow us to do is one, it's not going to allow us to build too many warm-up reps to fatigue us for our working sets. But 2, it's also going to allow us a sense of urgency to drop a repetition, add a little bit of weight, and really get to our working sets as fast as we can. So you can see that I have 5 reps at 45 pounds, just the empty barbell. But really, that should feel like a 2 to a 3 out of a 10 scale. And then I drop down to 4 reps, which should feel like a 3 to a 4 out of a 10 scale. And I add 45s on each end, which brings me to 135. I then add a little bit more weight. I go to 225 pounds. I'm doing now 1 rep less, 3 reps. It should feel a little bit heavier, 4 to a 5 out of a 10 scale. And then I'm going to 275 pounds for 2 reps. It should feel like a 5 to a 6. And then my final single, right, is at 315 pounds. And that should feel like a 6 to a 7 out of a 10 scale. Now that 1 rep, even though it's 4 reps less than my back squats, I'm always thinking and visualizing how this weight is going to feel for the rep scheme provided. So if this weight feels like a 9 out of a 10 for just 1 rep and I can barely get it on up, most likely that's not going to work for my set of 5. So I'm gonna have to back it on down. But this is a really practical approach on how to efficiently work to my first working set and not necessarily take too much time. Now, at any point in time throughout this progression, whether I get to set of 4 or set of 2, if that weight jumps up to anywhere in the range of a 7 to a 9 out of a 10 scale, then I'm just going to utilize that weight as my first working set. For instance, let's say that I'm working through my warm-up rep scheme and I get to my set of 3. And for some reason today, right, with everything else going on away from the gym, or maybe it's just super early, this is my first early class I've ever worked out at, this set of 3 feels like an 8 out of a 10. Then I no longer need this set of 2 or this set of 1. This set of 3 right here, right, I'm going to do 2 extra reps in the moment, and I'm going to make that my first working set because it feels like a 7 to a 9 out of a 10, which is really a good working set for us for this, for the approach we're looking to take, okay? So then we look at our working sets, and you notice within our working sets, we're making smaller jumps, right? Metal jumps, or maybe no jumps at all because we're in that range that's going to allow us to really tap into our full strength potential. 7 to 9 out of a 10 scale. You can see all 3 of my sets are 5 reps, but you notice my first set is 315, 325, 330, right? Now let's take this approach. Let's say my set of 3 for that day, 225 pounds, felt like a 7 to a 9 out of a 10 scale. Then 225 would be my first set, right? And then based off of how that felt, maybe I'm just staying at 225, and maybe I go to 227 for my last set. But you notice how I'm making smaller jumps in my working sets, and I'm making bigger jumps in my warm-up sets, right? And that's really just a very practical approach on how to get to our first working set. It's very efficient, it's non-time consuming, and we're working with a sense of urgency to get to where we need to get in order to start our working sets. Now, since the back squats were our focus, Once I find my working weight for my back squats, I now start to superset and add in my dumbbell snatches for 3 to 5 per arm, right? And then that's going to allow me to be very efficient with the time allotted for a strength components, but also allow me to really touch and tap into my full strength potential for those 20 minutes. Okay,